So, so the recording is in progress. Welcome to the second round of NOVED 2023. Without further ado, I call upon the Prime Minister. Floor is yours. Here.
Am I audible?
Audible. Oh, by the way, sorry. Justin, can you help me with the timer? Because I'm recording, I cannot minimize the Zoom.
Yeah. I can help
Um,
you with the time.
Amazing. Thank you.
Okay. By preference, just unmute yourself. Pronounce he, him. Okay, starting my speech in three, two, and one. In the current status quo, debate organizations play a crucial role in fostering critical thinking, communication skills, and engagement, right? They serve as platforms for individuals to express their ideas, engage in meaningful discourse, and develop the skills necessary for informed decision making, right? In schools and universities, debate clubs and competitions offer opportunities for students to sharpen their abilities and argumentation, research, and public speaking, right? This extracurricular activities enrich the educational experience, encouraging students to explore diverse perspectives and refine their communication techniques, right? But those are for nonprofits, debate organization. How about for-profit debate organizations, right? On why for-profit debate organization exists, right? A few setups. First, for-profit debate organization exists because there is a demand for them, right? Debate is a valuable skill that can help people in all aspects of their lives, right? It can help people to think critically, to articulate their ideas clearly, and to persuade others, right? For-profit debate organizations provide people with the opportunity to learn and develop these skills. In addition, there is a growing demand for competitive debate, right? Competitive debate is a challenging and rewarding activity that can help people to develop their skills and knowledge, right? For-profit debate organizations provide people with opportunity to compete in high-level tournaments and to learn from professional debaters. But onto my second setup, right? Why we need to support for-profit debate organizations, right? There are several reasons why we need to support this kind of debate organizations, right? First, for-profit debate organizations make debate more accessible to people of all backgrounds, right? They can offer scholarships and financial aid to students who cannot afford to pay full tuitions, right? They can also offer online debate programs and workshops, which makes it possible for students from rural areas and other underserved communities to participate in the debate programs. Um, and then for-profit debate organizations invest in high quality structures, facilities, and resources. This allows them to provide their students with a better debate education. And for-profit debate organizations um, having the money can hire the best debate coaches in the world and invest in state-of-the-art debate facilities, right? So yeah, from these setups, I can clearly state that uh, why we as the government team support this for-profit debate organization existence, right? But onto more arguments, right? On what kind of good that for-profit debate organizations can bring, right? My first argument will be um, expanding access for people to engage with debating competitions, right? For-profit debate organizations play a pivotal role in breaking down barriers to access and making debate education more affordable for a broader spectrum of individuals, right?
Point.
This affordability um, in terms of this affordability means that not all people should pay like 100,000 rupiah or 200,000 rupiah for engaging with debating competitions, but need for us to realize that in order for our organizations to broaden, we need the fund, right? We need the money, so people can access debating, and we can increase accessibility to all people, right? The scenario is by seeking profit, these organizations develop dynamic financial models, right, that are centered on expansion and inclusivity and, of course, affordability for all people, right? These organizations have a vested interest in maximizing their reach, much like how companies seek to broaden their customer base in this context of debate education. This translates into a strategic way to make their programs accessible to a wide range of students, regardless of their socioeconomic backgrounds, right? For-profit debate organizations often employ innovative pricing models that leverage economies of scale, making debate training more affordable for all, right? Because back again, we need to realize the fact that in our status quo, um, those debate organizations that 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 are for profit have better trainers, right? They have better trainings. They have better training sessions and etc. Consider rather than those free trainings that doesn't that only use the that only use the human resources there is, right? Moreover, we really need to consider a scenario where for-profit organizations really allocate a portion of their earnings to scholarship and sponsorship programs, like I said before. These initiatives can provide financial aid to talented students who might otherwise have been unable to participate in debate due to financial constraints, right? The burden of proof um, now rests heavily on the opposing team to show us how nonprofit organizations or any alternative model can effectively replicate this financial incentive and expand access to debate education as comprehensively as for profit organizations. Right. Onto my second arguments about um, making innovations and increasing quality. Right. For-profit debate organizations are powerhouses of quality and innovations. Right. Fueled by competitive forces inherent in the for-profit business model. With this statement, it envisioned a debate education landscape that benefits from the perpetual drive of innovation and adaptability for those who are interested. Right, competition among for-profit organizations drive them to deliver like um, an an unparalleled debate education experience. Right, they are compelled to go beyond the basics, constantly raising the bar for the quality of their training, resources, and coaching. Right now, the burden of proof lies squarely with the opposing team to demonstrate how nonprofit entities or alternative models can replicate this level of motivation for quality and innovations, right? These organizations are not content with maintaining the status quo. In a competitive market, the pursuit of profit propels them to invest in research and development, right? Creating cutting edge resources and technology tailored to the needs of modern debaters. Imagine the development of the state software for speech, right? And debate analysis or virtual debate platforms that simulate real world competitions, right? These innovations equip debaters with the skills, tools, and experience needed to excel in contemporary debate formats, right? The cycle of competition also drives for profit for profit organizations to consistently seek out and hire the most accomplished debate coaches, researchers, and educators, right? They strive to provide um, an elite mentors who can impart invaluable knowledge and skills to their mentees, right? This aspect of competition in the for-profit debate landscape pushes debaters to perform at their very best, ultimately raising the overall standard of debate excellence, right? In contrast, the opposing team faces the impossible task of demonstrating how nonprofit organizations or any alternative model can generate the same intensity of competition and motivation for quality and innovation, right? They must articulate a comprehensive strategy and prove us um, that whatever they are doing on the opposition team can rival the result achieved in a for-profit debate education environment, right? Um, therefore, um, therefore, within my two arguments, we as the government team support the existence of um, for-profit organizations. That's why we're proud to propose. Thank you.
I thank the Prime Minister for the fine speech. I call leader of opposition. Floor is yours here.
Hey, am I audible? Oh, sorry. Sekarang gimana?
Tadi agak echoing dikit tapi sekarang should be fine.
Okay. For PI preference, just through chat. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. I think the case for open government is very utopic and there's no structural analysis or likelihood on process. Why it is very, very utopic and why it's very beneficial and why it creates accessibility and wider. If we can prove to you this narrative supporting this rise, it creates the narrative and it creates inaccessibility and very bad inclusivity because people striving, the more people competing, more people striving for profit organizations will be based that pricing will be higher and so on and so forth. If we can prove this compromise a lot, it becomes the quality, it's decreasing, we taken down on OG cases. It's not cannot be via the utopic benefits. Through framings, one, what we oppose is the rising. What does the rise looks like? For example, the paid seminar or workshops having a revenue model that is pricey continuously, which means more debate organization is in the future will be very, very profit oriented. This prevent government saying that there's a counterbalance, because we say that the option will be very, very limited to every individuals because of this revenue model. This is the delta or tipping point of on the differences, which means on opposition, sure, there will be still paid, but the amount of paid in government is very big and reduces the option for individuals who want to access debating. The illustration is like this: the best hire judges to best as possible, provide more profitable workshop as possible, because you compete on the pricing and you compete which organization can generate more revenue, and so on and so forth. Here's the thing: what support make it worse is that how people perceive the debating is not solely based on the community, based on improving the quality or critical thinking anymore, but chasing the profit, competing with profit within the organizations. It creates trend and narrative that you can be good if you pay high, you can access this if you can high. We opposes the inaccessibility and immorality from profit for-profit debate organizations. Second framing means we support for debate organization who are not aiming for profit. This looks like disputandum memseger for free sparring and free judges. Means also not automatic zero money, but this looks like NOVED or IFED. We can still pay the judges and taps, etc. But that the money are ending up for the community and scholarship for individuals in debating, not going to profit at the organization for accumulated wealth or some rich for some individuals who are the owner, for example, but ending up for the people, to the people instead of the community. This is the proliferation that we prefer. First argument, why should be non-profit? There are three layers. Number one, about moral and ethics. How debate words look like is that discussing and debating about gender matter issue, for example, vulnerability of some individuals like poverty, religious minorities. The ideal of debate is to have as many perspectives as possible. That's why we create discourses to have constructive feedbacks. But on government, you use these activities on also exploitation of sad stories, the struggling of vulnerable actors become immoral for you to utilize this as your sake of sources of your income, as a sources of your generate revenue for the community of organization, just only for profit oriented. That is why you will also create a paid constructive feedbacks. You will also create paid for sparring organization. This explanation proof and why it become has debate is more on ethics. You cannot just that simple to take that as your profit for single individuals. That is why the reason OEDC and classic in Indonesia we only oppress this not for profit oriented but going to be proliferation for community and individuals. That's why accessibility is very open. But on government, you close and limiting this kind of options because you have this kind of rising. You can have more as possible. You create this as your narrative. I will talk about debate organization as the actor on the second layer. Function the most accessible and cater to the people to develop critical thinking and develop safe space community among individuals. These are the exclusivity and as an actor. People who cannot access high or expensive trainings can access this tandem sugar in our side of the house. That's why we have like this kind of proliferation for those people from gray area can access free judges and can access free constructive feedbacks. What will happen on government? The moment everything become profit oriented, it creates a sense and obligation that this have to be profit oriented activities. That is why on OG scenario they will always compromise or trade off the accessibility to some degree because it is being not free anymore. The third layer is come to inclusive accessibility, meaning that with trade off and this push burden or some people that can only access this kind of debating community organizations, access this kind of trainings and access this kind of like competitions that are very, very expensive. This kind of inclusivity and accessibility will not cater to people who gray area or the people who need the safe space anymore. This means that only privileged or only some certain of individuals who can being exist and on this kind of organization. Conclusion is on the third, this first principle, it is unfair for these courses or competition just only be accessed for certain individual. That is the principle, it is very harmful. The moment because this organization number one is the only actor that can cater, they're going to be not accessible anymore in the future. These people will not having any kind of organization. They're going to be very space and very inclusive and their part of the house. Why it is bad on the second argument? Why it is bad on the government side? Number one, because it limits the option of people. Everyone wants to make profit. This race to the top with the pricing mechanism. Best case scenario in government, you want people more to people to opt in, but it means that more demand will increasing and will equal to rising price higher, because you want to compete and want to be the top of your organization, because you want to invite incentive people to follow your workshop, because your workshop is seen as very good, because you can pay higher judges, for example. Why this is bad? Meaning that these people can access this, but number two, agency for people to choose, because need to adjust the budget to them in order for them to be good, in order for them to access the free constructive feedback or free sparring, for example. But number two, it also worsens the image of the debate, because it becomes exclusionary right now. Why? Because it is getting to the point when it is too pricey, but it will send the other organizer, that is NGO, that debate wasn't really impactful on society anyway. This is bad because it hampers the progress of debating, getting more publication. It hampers the people want to access that intensify, that people will perceive, oh, debate and critical thinking is have to be paid, that you have to be paid more higher in order for you to be have like improved a lot in the debating or improve a lot your critical thinking skills. But saturation of the debate community also will happen exists. Why? Because only certain group can access this, affects the discussion that will be saturated and will be very, very bubbling inside of the more certain of groups or certain individuals. This is very bad because it backlashes the goal and the purpose of the debate organization. This is the principal harm that need to be taken from a government side of the house. Why comparatively are we better? Because under opposition work, we don't support a certain rights, but we embrace the option and agency for people to access proliferation in every country as possible. Good to give more choices for people. This looks like diverse model of organization that more accessible, like this tandem that they're free, but also you can for like our the other organization that pay, for example. We can become the freedom of become the diversity to create more proliferations. We proud to oppose.
I thank the leader of opposition for the fine speech. To continue the case of OG, I call Deputy Prime Minister Floor is yours. Here.
Okay, am I audible?
You are.
Okay, wait, set timer dulu. Hmm. Timer. Okay, I'm going to start my speech. Oh, tunggu bentar. Okay, I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, looks, okay, looks, there is Amanda. Amanda is student individual that really hard to focusing in her debate career and also organization HIMA and, for example, HIMA and BEM and etc. Therefore, she wonder is there any places that can co-op her interest with those things? Because exactly in this time, it's really hard to focusing in your debate career and also organization, because it's going, you have a demand for your academic also, but also you have anything issues, anything else. Therefore, we think exactly there's a race how about this profit demand organization is going to be more beneficial in our side of the house. But before we're going to jump in, we're going to explain to you. But before going to jump in, we're going to have a response regarding the OOC. OOC simply saying bring three things. Number one, they're talking about access. They're talking about two, never talking about moral ethics. Yeah, let's talk about our moral ethics. They say to you that how exactly is, debate only simply to take a profit, but they only talking about take a profit by someone conflict. But we think exactly this is okay. Why? Two reasons. Number one, we say to you the debate is only oriented to critical thinking, only talking about like you're going to communicating. Therefore, even if they're going to talk about like constructive awareness or even you're going to have a policy briefing, I think it's not debating is really different with MU and also policy debriefing. The moment they take a granted of someone conflict, we think exactly this is okay, because at the end of the day, the moment you're going to bring someone a conflict, it's going to bring awareness that this problem is real. So therefore, I think it's okay at the end of the day you fulfill your moral ethic to bring someone awareness regarding about the conflict. But second, they're talking about the rising money it can access in order to rising the money. This is really confusing because the moment they say to you that how exactly debate organization already know how exactly they want target marketing their self itself. They know how exactly the student or even student that want to join KDMI or even NUDC, for example. Therefore, they're going to make sure that their target marketing is student itself, right? Therefore, they're going to make rational price the moment it can it can accepted by the student itself, like how they're going to not pricey to for student. Therefore, at the end of the day, all of those things about accessible regarding the money is not going to be more exclusively in their sub the house. Because at the end of the day, even if you're really you're really profitable, you're going to pricey about the debate organization. You're not going to simply using your profit. You're going to simply make a pricey money, because at the end of the day, if it's going to be pricey money, it's not going to be, not everyone going to join in, right? The moment you're going to make a prize money that really suitable for the student or even many people, and so therefore it's going to be bring inclusivity, because at the end of the day, you know how exactly the society can afford that class, can afford this privilege. Therefore, at the end of the day, we say to you, this is exactly the debate organization to attempt how exactly they can tap into half of money, and also have is going to make sure the adjustment to the society. Therefore, three things that I'm going to talk to you in my speech. I'm going to talk to you that how exactly this is okay for someone to do so. Second, I'm going to talking about practically. Let's talk about how exactly in debate organization happen. Panels, please note that AJU, tabulator, and also etc. That how exactly going to running the debate organization is also a human. That they say also, have so many time. That also that many time is also they even doing so, they their time they were paid. They also human. They need to be get money, right? Because at the end of the day, those things is really true, because at the end of the day, it's really principally true. Why? Because this is exactly the organization getting paid, because they give you a service. Why this is true? Because the moment you give a service, it's okay to do you for you, giving giving a price. How exactly do you giving service? Because at the end of the day, adjudicator, tabulator, or simply in debate organization, there's a responsibility to make sure how exactly having a to make sure that you as a someone that want to has someone that really smarter for in the debate is not going smarter in the debate to be more okay at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, we see to you that how exactly that educator and tabulator need to be more sustainable to be get money. Because at the end of because the moment they get paid, they're always going to demand like, oh, at least at the end of the day, I'm going to get paid, and also I'm going to be more sustained at the I'm going to make sure that the main organization is to be sustained. Why this is okay? So because at the end of the day, there's so many adjudicator or even tabulator that's really big quick. For example, in debate organization, because they see this is not really profitable, because they know how exactly this is like not really strategic for their financial strategy. Therefore, if we are going to give some incentive for them, it's going to be number one, is going to appreciate how exactly their service, because that is exactly the principally human. They need to be appreciated. Second is going to be okay for them financial. Therefore, we think exactly it's okay for the rest of profit. But let's talk about how exactly to be more practical. We're talking about debate organization is going to be fulfilled by aiming for critical thinking or communication. But talking about that, at least at the end of the day, those people and those person, like for example Amanda, for example, they can join to debate organization to make more debate organizations to be sustainably, because they're going to learn how use management or even running the organization to be sustained. Because compared to OO, because the individual and student, only because you're using the critical thinking and communication, however, they already academic oriented, because therefore it's really hard for them in opposition to for the student tap into industry, that we know how exactly industry is really money oriented, because at the end of the day, industry is really awareness to the money oriented. Yeah, but even if opposition saying like, oh, even if I'm individual, I can still get a job, I can still get have a debate career, even if I don't using debate organization profit. I don't think it's going to be true. Why? Because at the end of the day, you know how exactly organization have aiming for you become an individual developing yourself to become a better person, to become become a okay person. Because at the end of the day, there's a paradigm debating how exactly that you're going to join HIMA or BEM to develop your individual skill, or even you're going to join something that talking about academic thing, like you're going to only um, you're going only living your academically, because this is exactly the moment profit dependent organization is going to be a consensus. The moment there is paradigm debating, like how exactly you can still developing yourself as individual, but also you can still look really good in your CV, for example, because you are in some profit debate organization. The moment we're talking about CV, we're talking about how exactly you as individual have as data or some quantitative quantitative measurement, how exactly that you're going to be really achieve your target. Therefore, at the end of the day, by joining profit debate organization and the rise of this is going to be make sure all of those person individual to be more really good in CV, and therefore at the end of the day is going to cooperate all of those things what they need. So therefore, proud to propose this motion. Thank you.
I thank the Deputy Prime Minister for the fine speech. Actually, wait a second. Aku ngambil my earphone dulu. This one baterai habis. Bentar ya. Oh, iya. Oke. DLO boleh coba ngomong nggak ya?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Not my headphone is working. Okay, DLO, floor is yours here.
Kayak bisa diulang your voices nggak? I think kayak small. Coba.
Oh, oke oke. Halo, halo.
Oh, okay, now it's clear.
Oh ya, tadi cuma ngetes doang. Bentar ya, rapiin mic case dulu. One more time, just checking, am I audible and clear?
Yes, you are both audible, visible, and clear.
Yeah, thank you. Wait, hold on. Timer. PI preference just unmute, most likely take one from closing. But please don't badger if I don't accept one. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. 3 strategic policies in OG that cost them this debate. Firstly, the fiat is more organization will likely to do revenue model that is profitable. Doesn't mean that it will use in a good way. No structural analysis in OG why they will likely to do it in a good way. We prove you what is the nature of this narrative and why this will likely to be rooted by a very bad incentive to begin with. 3 things. 1, they will likely to want to get profit to actually exploit the struggle of the discussion, because we Stanley told you how the discussion within the debate is always going to be about sensitive stuff, always talking about the personal stuff, etc., right? Note that the support that Gov needs to say is that rising, right? This means more people will likely to get profit out of this particular exploitation. But secondly, and it will likely to become too pricey. Even in status quo, the bid competition is already seen as pricey, right? For instance, like NOVED, we need to pay 500K to actually get to this competition. It is very pricey. Not everyone wants to pay 500,000 just to get to go to in the competition, right? And you make it more pricey because you will always going to be compete to make new technology that is so pricey, right? Imagine you need to make a new tab that is more high end, etc. This means no accessibility will happen on their side. But thirdly, at best, if there's a scholarship or prize, how much that they can give and give to the people, right? I said that a lot of times scholarship only at max for 3 teams, and the price is also exclusionary because like the price is always going to be given towards the winner, right? On our side, we can have this when it's free. This means the gravity of benefit people who can access it, we still want. Second strategy policy in OG, because we said the principle of the goal of this debate is backlash with this narrative. They say that to be inclusive and discourse, to have safe space and people and cope-up mechanism for people, especially like me who cope up with debate, right? That is why it's very important to actually spread the benefit for most people. We analyze, we get the scale of accessibility. They don't prove the otherwise, why their benefit will likely to trickle down. We prove the otherwise, that's why OG is ours debate. But lastly, our stance is not zero money. The judges still paid, the staff is still paid on our side. Their harm is contingent on people as exploited and don't get money at all. This is not true. The delta is on your side, you will likely to gain extra money for your organization. For instance, like CAS, for instance, like money like monthly paid and etc. And it's continuous, and more organization will happen to do that. That is why it is so harmful on their side. That is why OG starts the debate. What is my contribution exactly? Stanley already proved why in principle this is immoral. That stands regardless of the impact. If you don't buy that, I will engage with the principle with 3 issues. Firstly, I'm going to talk about why development cancel happens in opening opposition. Secondly, I'm going to talk about why we get better image as an institution and get more people to buy in. Thirdly, why we get better quality of discussion in this debate. First issue then, regarding why development cancel happen in status quo. Let's picturize what is the illustration of development in status quo, and we say it's already enough. 4 things. Hey, I think the tab is actually very advanced. Look at the NOVED tab. This is very good, right? But secondly, the judges training that is free and YouTube, and the judges is still going to get paid on our side, right? Like training in AutoFort by Batara Mulia and other things like Miko Fituk, that is very, very free, right? Thirdly, resources are free. Journal, materials, etc. Seminar can still likely to be free on our side. But fourthly, for you to actually like promote it, there's still a lot of free mechanism like Instagram, Canva, and a lot of NGO that is free, for instance, like Sri Kandi Debat to promote the debate competition, right? That is why the development in status quo is actually already enough. Why then there's still incentive to actually innovate? A, there's a common need to actually make more betterment. B, we get more beneficial of people opting in. You can do crowdfunding, etc. You can still get famous and exposure. This means your CEO will still get the benefit and still have incentive to actually make a continuous sustainable advocacy in the debate. Secondly, they don't want to lose with other competition like MUN, etc. They still want to sustain, right? Because people love it. That is why there's still more incentive to actually innovate. You don't need to get those profit to begin with. Thirdly, why then the innovation in government is extraordinary? Because the benefit only generate to the privileged or the special people. Why? Because the rise meaning that more competition and organization have the same revenue model. This means everyone will fighting for the best technology. Everyone will likely to hiring the best judge. That is why there's an incentive to make the price even higher on their side. This looks like, hey, price money only go to be for the best one and the winner. Secondly, the judges that paid best is the best judge, right? A court paid highest, etc., etc. Thirdly, a scholarship is actually only for 1 or 2 team at max. What is the impacts of the argument? Why this exclusionary? A, because their benefit is a mismatch solution. Because inclusivity is something that they cannot have on their side because we prove for you how it's the otherwise. But secondly, their benefit only is for the people who can access the training, who can access the most pricey coaches to begin with, right? But thirdly, on the issue of innovation is symmetrical, but we say the harm is outweigh any benefit that happens on OG. That is why on the issue of accessibility and innovation, OO wins because we don't have that harm. Second issue regarding why we get betterment in terms of like the image as an institution. Gov said with money we can access more people. Not true for 2 reasons. A, because insofar as they don't prove how they will get a huge amount of people to buy in, as cheap as it is, there's a huge stigma to actually not opt in. For instance, like debate is exclusionary, debate is racism, etc. They don't prove why it fixed on their side. But secondly, even worse, you ruin the image for debate in general, where there is a notion of debate is taking profit. You will likely to run away from debate and taking other alternative like MUN, etc. Why then we are better? A, because we gradually better the image of the debate. How? By being more cheaper as a debate organization, you can capitalize this narrative that debate is for everyone. This means more people will likely to track an incentive to opt in into the debate, meaning more people want to buy in equals needs people to feel safe and cheaper because they are nothing to lose. This means more people likely to feel comfortability on our side. This means we get sustainability of people stay because it is comfort. This is exclusive because on government, people cannot opting in the first place. How then they can feel comfort? How then they get sustainability? Unclear. The way for this issue is A, this momentum is amazing for organization to actually capitalize and create a better image and fix the stigma on society. Secondly, on their side, will worsen the stigma of exclusionary of this debate. That is why OG is out of the debate. Last issue, why we get better quality of discussion in this debate. Government said with no money, there's no likely to become accountability of the discussion. We said it's not exclusive. Why? 2 reasons. A, because we said there's equity. There's a lot of ethics that is upheld in the debate value. There still can mandate a check and balance to make sure that debates still have accountability. Secondly, on our side, we get more people opting in. This means we get the benefit of better check and balance from more people and more perspective. That is why we get better quality of discussion on our side. On your side, it is even harder to actually check and balance because it is saturated, that Stanley told you. What is the harm? A, there's a loophole for racism. A, there's a loophole for exclusionary. B, makes even if there's minority want to opt in, they wouldn't likely to feel comfy. But fourthly, the notion that you are need to pay so much equals a pressure that makes you even more stressful when you opting into the debate, right? That is why we erase this notion of stressful. We get more people comfortability on our side of the house, right? The weighing for this issue, why this is so important? A, because we say that getting better quality of discussion is the main goal of the debate, right? To ensure that we get better discourse on our side and we get more safety net, and we prove you how do we get that on our side of the house. Secondly, on their side, you will like to become more pressure and stressful. That is why people who are already opt-in don't want to stay opt-in on their side, right? That is why we get better quality of discussion on this debate. Why then OO win this debate? A, Stanley already proved why in principle, having profit for this particular debate is also immoral regardless of the practical outcome. But B, even if you don't buy that, I give you 3 extension why in practical we get better on our side. So proud to oppose.
I thank the DLO for the fine speech. To open the closing half, I call the member of GOV. Floor is yours. Here.
Okay, am I audible?
You are.
Okay, thank you for the confirmation. Let me set my personal timer. For POI, please just unmute yourself, and I will accept it, but I probably will not be offering one. Okay, so I'm gonna start my speech in 3, 2, 1. What differentiates us from OGs that OG, while they are successful in explaining why debating needs to evolve, etc., they fail to give you a mechanism as to what kind of for-profit debate organizations that they mean, what kind of business model they use, what kind of revenue streams are they talking about. So that's what us CG is going to explain. But before that, we're going to respond to some of OO's assumptions. First, to respond OO's assumption that this will be immoral because disadvantaged groups will be unable to attend and or join debating activities. First, what's currently happening is that debate is being framed as knowledge. Therefore, every and any contribution happening inside debate is expected to be done voluntarily. These kinds of arguments are the same as the ones being used to justify underpaying and overworking teachers and healthcare workers. These people are oppressed with such a big burden to enlighten society, yet they are expected to be so selfless to the point that they should sacrifice their time and effort for the great, quote-unquote, the greater good. Under the context of capitalism, in which there is no practical way we can live without money, this practice is simply slavery in disguise. These people are enslaved by social and political framing in the form of oppressive expectation of voluntary work, which is why in our side of the house, in CG's house, we are actually the one that is more ethical in this case, because what we're going to do is we're going to reward people's hard work because we believe that the time and effort they put in order to be able good enough judge, good enough neighbor, etc., deserve to be paid. And we're going to explain why the current model is actually not enough to sustain these people's life, etc. So when OO state that accessibility will die, we believe that this is simply untrue. Why? Because they themselves already say that things in YouTube exist, books in library exist, there are free papers, etc. There's also simply the news. Debate mostly talks about current events, so we believe that accessibility is never going to be a problem in debate because everyone can learn every time from everywhere, from every sources, right? So we believe that the existence of for-profit organizations is not going to be that detrimental in terms of erasing accessibility within debate. Also, we have to remember that we are only talking about debating scene, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very simple, a very small circle, a very niche space, and we're not talking about education at large. We're not talking about as if we're trying to turn every single school into for-profit organizations. So we believe even if this kind of circle stays small, the education at large will be highly unaffected by this motion. Therefore, let's focus on the debating scene. So we're going to talk about why for-profit versus non-profit organizations, what's the comparison, and why we believe that, like with other things, we think that for-profit and non-profit organizations can exist mutually. So we believe that there is nothing to be so the rise of for-profit debate organization should still be supported. Why? Because let's take an example. For example, right? Even if organizations or places like EF exist to teach you English, that doesn't mean that that is the only place that you can learn English from, right? Both models, we understand that both models can earn money. Like Oo said a lot about how even non-profit can earn money, but we think that there are two important distinctions, which is first intention and second intensity. With intention, with non-profit, what you're trying to do is just create enough money to sustain you for one event. It's basically making yourself living paycheck to paycheck, and the difference is that with for-profit organizations, the intention is that you're trying to create enough money to survive between events, so you don't have to practically live paycheck to paycheck. And that is what is actually happening with a lot of judges, a lot of tabbers, etc. Which is why the second distinction with its intensity is very important, because because this current status quo is that adjudicators and tabulators are practically being paid scraps. Okay, maybe a core are being paid more, but it's still not enough to sustain your life on a daily basis, which is why a lot of them, they need to have a day job. And no matter how much they love and dedicate their time to debate, it simply isn't enough for them to keep on living, to stay alive, to stay afloat, to have a roof over their head, to pay rent, etc. Which is why we believe that it is such an ironic and a sad reality, the fact that these people who love the thing they do, they do so much, cannot survive off of debating. And which is why we believe that for-profit debate organization should be allowed to exist, and we as debaters should support that thing. Why? Because we're simply giving these people the ability to live proper life through debating. OO expects people to be paid in exposures. They talk about like, oh, the CEO will still get good rep, they will still get good news, etc. So they will still be benefit from this, but not monetarily. But we think that is a very bad thing. You shouldn't be paid in exposure. You should be paid with money. We live under capitalism. And they talk about how in their system it's going to be harmful to minority and young people, to people in disadvantages. Imagine if you are living under poverty line, you dedicate so much of your time to a craft, and you are expected to be paid in exposure. The kind of case that they brought into the debate is actually more harmful to the minority they're trying to so much to protect. Which is why we believe that in our side of the house, this is actually going to be our side of the house is the one that could actually create sustainability within debating, not only for debating organizations, but also for debaters themselves, for the people who become old enough once they hit senior year in college or after a college graduation. Before, what have to happen is that they have to retire as the debater, because there's no way you can survive as a debater, right? Therefore, we believe that this field should be a legitimate way you can stay alive, you can stay afloat, and therefore sustainability is only going to happen in our side of the house, because not only are we going to ensure that these kind of organizations survive, but we're going to ensure that the people within those organizations can also survive. Why is it unlikely for for-profit organizations, especially when we're talking about debating, to be evil capitalists? Simple. The debating circle is extremely small and niche, and debaters are the kind of people that are well versed within the study of ethics, and some people even say that we are very critical, even to ourselves and to each others. And therefore, what happens is that if someone, I'm sorry, fuck up so much within the debating scene, that one mistake is going to cost them their entire career. And that is specifically and exactly the reason why they're not going to turn into capitalist monsters, and why we can ensure that even if this kind of organizations is for profit, they will still work towards the greater good and towards the proliferation of debate itself. Proud to propose.
I thank the member of God for the fine speech. To open the case of the closing opposition, I call member up. Floor is yours. Here.
Hi, am I audible?
Loud and clear.
Okay, for POI, just raise hand. And disclaimer, this is just for debating, no attack for personnel. Sorry if I offend anyone in my speech. Okay, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Opening wishy-washy with their impact, which their impact coming from opening is uncertain because they never explain what kind of people are we talking about, what kind of debaters, and how the debating community currently look like. This is something that only exists in closing the position. To framing before moving to my extension, right? So first, I think what we're gonna explain is how this for-profit organization gonna be a dominating community inside of debating, right? The whole community gonna change because this is on the rise. This is what are they defending on. All people are gonna fight for being in this for-profit organization. They will try to make a living out of debating. It will be seen as a lucrative industry because with the same effort working pro bono for my EDS, I could get paid working in this organization. Exactly, this going to so this shows that there will be a huge shift in the debating community, and I'm gonna prove to you uh, this is harmful. The shift is going to be harmful, right? Second, we believe that alternative exists. I think we cannot go with the idea coming from government saying that, oh, now everyone is not going to pay for their debating service like judging, tabbing, and etc. I think what we define here as closing a position is status quo, right? It's not like currently we coach are not getting paid, CAP are not getting paid. It is getting paid, but what is different is on how this is not only for a individual doing their job, but it's on how you literally creating a whole organization. Like probably there will be a subscription. Probably there will be a subscription for you to join this community. There will be like a monthly pay. The competition price will be really really expensive. We believe that this is what we go against, right? So as closing a position, we against the chef and we against the business model to begin with. But I'm going to be different from opening up a session because I think opening up a session talk about how this is gonna create profit, yada yada, and why this is bad. What I'm going to prove to you, two things. First, I'm going to explain on how the debating scene gonna shift and how does it look like. Second, I'm going to prove to you that debating is not mere skills. It's a community that everyone enjoys and why people stay at debating. So first, we're talking about debating scene. How does it looks like? I think when we create a for-profit organization, this for-profit organization will start to branding themselves as yeah, this is a critical thinking sports. We're gonna have lots of competition. It's gonna look good on your CV. Exactly, people that are want to join is these international kids from a really expensive school that want to go to Ivy League because it looks good on their CV and they're the one that can afford this kind of thing. Normal people, like some kids from Smandua, Bandar Lampung, would not join debate to begin with. So this shows, right? In Arts of the House, you're not only limiting the option, but now the option is not even available because for now, what we know about the debating community, the competition is really expensive, the coaching is really expensive. You need to pay monthly for this courses organization. We believe that this exactly going to create the exclusivity. And notice that this expedition only exists in closing government, and this explains on why the demand is going to be bad and exactly the supply are going to be bad also, and exactly the price are going to be really really expensive because their target market is this rich kids that want to uh go to Ivy League. And I think this gonna impact on the whole debating community as a whole. Looks like the motion that council passed is gonna be classes and not going to be accessible. We will not think again about proliferation. Bidding for an organization to that help classics is gonna for this for-profit organization. Now that even classics are gonna be expensive and not gonna be accessible, we're gonna pass motion for ORCOM to be hugely paid by debating community. I think this kind of motion that will pass and this exactly will ruin the whole debating community, right? This shows to you on how the shift is prevalent and how the shift is going to be harmful and not going to be accessible for people. Second, I'm going to explain to you that debating is not a mere skill, but it's a community. I think like we all agree debating is not only about intellectual masturbation because people stay judging, people joining competition, people coaching because we love the community. Because currently, no one debate for the sole reason of winning because winning in debating competition is hard. We have huge powerhouse, we have NUDC champions, uh we have like a really really good name, and the with a lot of participants, I think winning in debating competition in general is hard. You're probably going to be stuck at semifinal over and over again. But currently, people are still joining competition because of, first, they enjoy the sports, and second, they love community. Because I think what we all can agree in debating community, it's a safe space for a sexual minority, for a religion minority. We can talk freely, we can say what is going on inside of my, not only inside of chamber, but outside of the chamber, which I think for this minority, this is a really limited space, right? They probably only can do it in debating community, and they cannot do it in their class, in their or with their other friend group, because they will be think as too progressive or something like that. Exactly, this is the only place for people to speak out their mind, because the inherent nature of liberalization that is happening inside of the debating. And I think the shift will be different in government side of the house, because now government side of the house will join competition for the sole reason of winning. Why is that so? Because they already paid for this organization. They already paid to get a result. And the result that they expect is a pragmatic result. All benefit that is non-pragmatic is not benefit in the rest of the house. How does it going to impact the people, right? Now people joining competition for winning, because they're going to be stressed out, because they will think, hey, I already paid so much for this organization. At least I need to get a prize pool. At least I need to being paid by government to join WDC, for some example. Parents will expect you, because they already paid for your competition and your organization. Now, people are not going to debate for fun. People are not going to debate for the community. People are not going to do a pro bono event for proliferation, because what is a benefit in the house is a proprietary benefit to break even the cost they get for joining debating to begin with. So why closing government is the most important thing, closing a session is the most important in the debate, because we show, right, on how the mechanization of the shift, and why it's gonna create a mentality that makes debating not fun anymore, that makes debating just a mere sports. And I think we believe that we don't want debating to be just a sports. We believe that it's a community that we all love. So proud to oppose.
I thank the member of Up for the Fine speech. To end the case of the Gov team, I call Gov Whip. Floor is yours. Here.
Hi, am I audible?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so for POI, just unmute yourselves. My pronouns are she, her. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, we feel as if all of the benches has been very lacking in characterizations of what for-profit and non-profit organization is. So let me just clear it up, right? For-profit and in this debate means that other than gali lubang tutup lubang to cover all of their expenses in their events, we want this debating organization to earn revenue, right? And to appreciate the work that people who are in charge of the events will get, right? This doesn't directly mean that the moment we go for becoming a for-profit organization, that we will become capitalistic. I think that is a completely different issue at the end of the day. But comparatively, what is a not-for-profit organization, right? We think that this does not mean that they're not going to ask or generate money at all, right? Realize they would still need to take money from debaters in order to run the sustainability of the organizations and in order to make the events actually run at the end of the day. Therefore, I think that this debate should focus on whether or not more income is needed towards the debating society, and why is it urgent to earn more money in the community itself. So we're proud to propose. So firstly, let's talk about what OO and to some extent CO also brought to the table. So their main argument is the same, right? Which is they don't want inaccessibility. They want accessibility for everyone. They don't want to create segmentation inside a debating circle, because it is a community that people find safe spaces on. But a few flaws under this, right? Firstly, realize that their side arguments isn't even relevant at all, right? Realize that other means of learning debate will still exist under our side of the house. For example, how there is intent Ganesh operation for people to learn in Bimba, but people can also still join study groups and free teaching classes in the current status quo. We don't think that these kinds of free alternative would just suddenly disappear the moment we make our organization become profit oriented, right? I think looking at the current status quo, how YouTube archives, articles, news, competitions like NUDC that are free and everything is already very accessible, right? The idea of people understanding debate using free resources is already so enough for people to independently learn, even if they don't have money at all. So why is this likely to proliferate, especially when we're talking about debate field, right? Realize that debaters are more conscious about social issues and about the groups of people who are not able to pay for debate services and education. That's what they learn every single day inside debate, right? Therefore, they are more likely to be more generous in giving these free programs at the end of the day, making it more accessible towards everyone that is becoming inaccessible about it later. But what is the trade-off under our side of the house, right? Realize that now there is a place for where debaters who want to learn more comprehensively can exist, right? Where the quality can be achieved more sustainably, and it can also support the efforts that all the edges or the debaters that give these kinds of classes are going to become more appreciated at the end of the day. But even if we tell you that all of that is true, I think that their characterization of non-profit organization in both government benches is skewed, right? They are dismissing that even though the debating organization is operating with non-profit value in mind, they still need money at the end of the day, right? Why is this so, right? Realize that competitions, classes, etc., all have their own expenses. For example, Zoom meeting needs money for the Zoom premium, or even like just to reward the people who spend their time to actually become educators. What does this mean, right? This means that they will still need to ask for money anyway, right? They cannot champion all of the free accessible system for everyone that they want under their side of the house anyways, right? For example, on the current status quo, when it's not for profit, how every single competition still wants us to pay 300k plus, which means that proposition of giving profitability won't even fly in the current status quo because it is already inaccessible in the current status quo anyways, right? At least under our side of the house, even though it is more likely for these kinds of debaters to pay even higher for them to become a part of this kind of competitions, etc., we ensure that one, there's enough quality of the programs given because now we can actually spend more money on that. And secondly, we run a more ethical debating organization where the edges and tabbers are all paid well and they can actually sustain their lives at the end of the day. But yes, POI?
Your benefit is contingent on more people opting in into debate, and you want to make it even more pricey. Is that not effective?
I think I already mentioned the fact of how it's already accessible in the current status quo, on how you can actually just look into YouTube. You can see the clips of all the finalists in NUDC and learn from that fact. I think for people who are eager enough to learn, it is already enough if they want to actually study debate at the end of the day. But second thing that they brought under their side of the house, right? They said that debate organizations that are made profit will likely develop to become a bad capitalistic organizations. But if few responses to make their point fall, right? Firstly, I think this is a very assumptive claim. There's no proof at all given by both government sides. Why? Just because we want to gain some revenue for our organization, suddenly people will become that money hungry inside the circle, right? Realize that we think it's otherwise, right? We think that is unlikely because when we characterize people who work inside of debate organizations, they're just likely normal people who just want to earn money for their daily life, right? It has never came out of a place of malice. We need to face it, right? The current status quo pay for people who dedicate their lives into debate is not enough. What's the proof? There is no full-time debater that can sustain their life with just debate, right? They either do part-time jobs in other places and other things, right? Even though they spend so many time to perfect their classes, to perfect their skills, this is why exactly making it for profit is really that needed in the current status quo. But second response then, let's just bite the bullet, taking their best case scenario and say, yes, debaters are all that evil and they will raise the price out for debate. I think this is still likely to fall, right? Because realize that check and balances still exist. Let's just characterize debating circles, right? They're very transparent how ballots feedbacks exist in debate. What does this mean? This means they are more conscious about justice, and this means that controls and checks will always happen to prevent such issues from happening. Even simply talking about how the debaters will speak out on Twitter about this issue, and it can already make the difference. Why would community action in Twitter, for example, work so well when we're talking about debate? Realize debate is a tight-knit community that are very focused on social justice. When you're canceled for an action that you do, you basically cannot come back to work in debate anymore. And this means that the people inside this for-profit debate community will be more incentivized to not do all the things that they preach in their debate speeches, will cancel all of these kinds of capitalistic things to happen. But comparatively, what what makes us different from opening government? We actually give you the mechanization. We are the only set that is able to prove to you why, without earning higher than the amount that is needed to run the organization, it is better how we can give ethical well-being of adjudicators, debaters, and tabbers inside the community, making the community way more ethical. At the end of the day, vote for government. Thank you.
I think the government whip for the speech to end the debate. I call up with floor is yours here.
Am I audible?
You are.
Okay. POI unmute. Starting. POI unmute yourself. Starting my speech. And 3, 2, what? A few things to clarify before I begin my speech, right? Firstly, we don't get why we won't be able to pay tabbers just because we do not agree that profit, profit have to be maximized to the fullest extent. Because we do agree that profit is important, but what we oppose is actually the rising trend to make that every single institution, for example, or like most of the institution becoming profit oriented, like Argumentum, for example, or yeah, things like that. And secondly, why do you assume that under our house these people like do not get money at all? Because that's very worst case. Because people could still get money by adjudicating while at the same time contributing back to the community by joining this putandum, for example. I don't think that case is actually relevant, right? So next on, I think that when you talk about how it's okay and it can exist mutually, the thing that you need to defend and the thing that you need you do to differentiate with opposition is that explaining why when the circuit is fully dominated by the profit one, why still good, why the proliferation would still exist under your side, which you never even touch, which you just dismiss and just think that it would be 50-50, because that's not the case. You have to defend the domination. Third things, when you talk about how YouTube exists and everyone can learn from everywhere, for example, I think that this is exactly why we do not want to gatekeep it. It still exists. YouTube still, you can get matters from YouTube, for example. It's because the dominating narrative right now is that you need to contribute back to the community by doing pro bono sometimes. That's why it still exists on the YouTube. Because under your side of the house, when you debate under your side of the house, what more likely to happen is that people gatekeeping debate meta, for example, and there will be no like things that you could get for free in the future, especially when the debate meta actually changing by times. So I think that the kind of thing that you need to defend, that's I think that we could already take the case coming from both government. But let's also expand it more on my class. The most of my examples going to be high school examples because they're very vulnerable. These are the people who have to continue debating, etc., etc. I'm going to compare with two teams, which is like CG and OG. Firstly, on CG, the thing that we get from them is that they won't be capitalistic monster, and the thing that we need to explain now is that how more income is actually needed. First responses. First, no, right? More income is not actually needed. People can get paid 1 million per day for judging in private school, for example. But exactly, they have to contribute back to the community that makes them able to do so. And that's why we have to defend and we have to support a lot of, non-profit institution. So what's actually the need of making more income would actually leads to? So I think that what it actually leads to is that it perpetuates the existing stigma that people from small institution have less capability, for example, because they have less money to actually hire a coach. So they have less money to join like 100 competition in the span of 3 months, for example. And that's what's going to happen. And what happened is, for example, in the high school debating circuit, for example, that this is already perpetuated that people in high school, they refuse to be friend with people from small institution because they still live in their bubble, and then it's going to be perpetuated even more, right? That these people from like small daerah, for example, that they are poor, and it's gonna be like discouraging these kids to actually join or to actually continue debating, and it's really bad. Not only that practically they're going to be discouraged, but also on the principle that
the stigma. But what's comparatively different at our house, especially at our CO? I think that at our CO, the non-profit exists and dominating, and it's gonna give more equality. And even though we're not gonna like abolish every single stigma, but at the very least, these people knows that these people have access to the kind of things that needed to debate. For example, they have the access to matters, digital matter files, or like workshop from international debaters, for example. So you're not going to, at the very least, you're not gonna undermine these people. You're not gonna have this kind of certain stigma to these people. And this is like, yeah, very important. But secondly, then I'm going to also also going to negate the arguments from OG coming from accessibility. So they talk about how it's going to be more accessible because people are more likely going to do it because they get money from it. I think that already explained to you about how there are alternatives like meme sugar, for example, and how principally it's actually wrong because the debating is basically about critical thinking. So I think that we have a different goal. We're not going to protect the fact that debate is about critical thinking. We're gonna protect the fact that debate is actually about like having your community and having your people around you, because it's true that people join debating for critical thinking, for example, or to look smart, I don't know, but I think that people stay because of the accepting community and how they can actually meet a lot of people and not homogeneous people that come from like a rich institution, for example.
AI, please.
No, thank you. I think that the rise of profit organization is not only that it's accessible like OO says, but also backlash that very reason, right? Because when people who because the only people who can join like big institution is like the rich one, and the one who could access matter about like current debate meta is like kids who went to like a really rich private institution, private privilege school, right? And this is very likely going to happen if we support the heavily rising trend, because some people can get like 1 million per hour, for example, and it's going to be normalized because it's a rising trend, and it's very bad. And the impact that's going to happen is that to the community is that it's create uncomfortability and create a homogeneous community in which that only rich people can afford these sports, in which that only rich people uh could do this, right? So, but what actually happening under CO, right? And under CO, yeah, we support like things like disputandum or like getting coaches from external EDSUE who would help you to get a coach. Yeah, so although that the profit one still exists, we still want the non-profit to dominate. And I think that it's really important because then we can create a community that's more accepting. Because kids from Lampung could thrive in a national competition with only this putandum sparring without hiring like a very high end coach that is 1 million per hours, right? And it exists and it's true. What would not happen at the other house because you cut off all of the access towards the people. But this is important because the high school kids are the one who's going to proliferate, for example, or even like the new debater also going to do it. But secondly, community going to be more diverse, and it's very important because you don't want a community that's just homogeneous and have and talks about the classist thing. So yeah, we want because we benefit more people, and secondly, the benefit is for the most vulnerable actor, the minority, the kids. Purpose. Oh,
I thank the OPI for the final speech, and I thank everyone for the amazing debate. While waiting for the decision, I'll ask every one of you debaters to go to the main room, and we'll call you when the decision has been made. Thank you.